In an earlier video, I looked at my SLHF1000 Sony Super Beta with Beta 1 Super High Band, which is the high performance, high resolution beta speed, and determined that the lower drum assembly had seized up. And it wasn't just a bearing, it's the rotary transformer that has seized up on us, meaning that this part is shot. So rather than toss this machine out, I thought maybe we can try doing a head swap from a different model. I so happen to have an SLHF900, which is a 4-head VCR with, it had Beta 1S playback, but not recording, and a Beta 2, Beta 3, but it's a 4 video head. This is a 4-head machine. Most beta machines were only 2-head. Some beta machines were 3-head. Those were the ones that would give you good slow motion and playback, but they were all, typically every beta machine was a 2-head machine, with the exception of a very few models. One of them was the SLHF900. It is a 4-head machine. The SLHF1000, this is actually a 6-head machine. It has 4 video heads, and it has 2 flying erase heads, and that's what the second rotary transformer on the top is for. That's for the flying erase heads. But the key is, it's a 4-head machine. All the other machines were 2-head or 3-head machines. Again, very few were 4-head. I think the SL2000 might have been a 4-head as well, but I don't have one of those. I have an SLHF900. So let's see whether we can actually swap the drum. Now, it won't have the flying erase heads, but that's fine. That only affects editing, and I won't be doing any editing, but it'd be nice to have another machine that can record and play in the Beta 1 super high band speed. Let's see if it'll work. So we'll start by removing the bottom cover for the machine, and I got to do this for both the SLHF1000 and the donor machine. So let's remove the bottom cover, and we need to get the circuit board out of the way, which is held in place by, I think, 3 or 4 screws. And that way we'll be able to determine whether both machines are the same. This is the SLHF900 that we want to see if we can use as a donor to swap the head drum to the 1000, if it's going to be the same head drum, which the lower drum might be. Looks like this part's the same. Let's find out. Come on, you piece of crap. This one's never been apart on this one, because that pink wire is wrapped from the factory. And see, it's one of the things you never put back the way they are when you've had them apart for any reason. You never ever put this wire back like that, because it's a pain in the ass. One thing I noticed is that the HF1000 connectors on here, that wasn't wrapped, that pink wire, which means somebody had been into it, and it hadn't been me. Now, I bought that unit at A&B Sound. It was my second one, and I have a feeling it went back to service, and they sold me a machine that had been repaired.
Onto the board up around here.
Because neither my SLHF1000s I've ever had to service them. I used them for a while, and then I put them away. So the fact that that had been into tells me somebody had been into that machine.
This is trapped. So when this was put together, somebody at the factory was in a hurry. They trapped this wire. See, this machine, the problem with this one is the regulator is shot. There's no power. And considering that the 1000, the SLHF1000 will support beta 1, swapping the head from this machine over to the 1000 makes more sense than to swap the regulator from the 1000 over to this one, because this one only supports beta 1 playback. It does not record beta 1, and it doesn't support the super high band. So if I can get the head drum from this and put it in the other one, I'll have a machine that will do beta 1 SHB.
Also, this one's had the head replaced on it because the original 900 head had a defect and it would cause it to clog. And they modified the head and put a little bit of epoxy between the two heads so that they wouldn't clog up as quickly.
So that has the head drum ready to come out, pretty much. So the transplant is actually quite easy. Just 3 screws to hold it in place. The other difference is, of course, is the other one has the rotary transformer on top for the flying erase heads, but we won't need to change that. We should be able to just remove this drum. I'm going to take this spring out of the way. It's got a grounding spring on here, and I don't want to risk, well, I should be able to get this thing out of here without risking anything. Take out these screws. Take off this bracket. This one's had the head replaced on it. You can see where I had to replace the video head, and I had to mark the drum. You can see the scratches I put in here, so I knew where the alignment was. That's how we used to put these things back together. Was we'd put a couple of little marks on here so that we would know exactly where they went. That's exactly the same thing they do, incidentally, if you get LASIK done for laser vision correction. They actually mark your cornea before they cut it and peel the flap back, so that when the surgeon, after they've done the procedure with the laser, when the surgeon puts the flap back on for the cornea, he can center it up so that it's in exactly the same place as where when it came off, so that when it heals, it doesn't heal with a ripple or anything. That's pretty amazing, that procedure, incidentally. For anybody who's had it, they'll know what I'm talking about. But that's really amazing what they can do. If this works, which I'm pretty confident that it will, it'll be the 3rd video on this Betamax machine, because when I took the drum apart, of course, and found the drum was bad, I actually did the motor block on it, but I decided to edit it as a separate video. And then I thought, you know what, let's see if I can change the drum over and see if that'll work. And we'll do that as a separate video too, because there's a certain person that really gets annoyed if I publish more than one video in a day. And I'm sending him off his rocker right now. He's firing off complaints to Google and to YouTube and to even I think he's probably sending messages to my ISP as well, but he's sending off messages to everybody but Santa Claus that I'm publishing too many videos. So when this guy gets on his little soapbox and starts whining and complaining, my reaction to it is just to publish more and piss him off even more. And maybe if he's that sick of seeing me publish videos, he'll unsubscribe and crawl back under the rock that he crawled out of in the first place. I'm not going to say his name, but I know he's watching, and he'll give me a thumbs down, and he'll probably then, you know, go and, I don't know, put out my address and my phone number and everything. He thinks he has my address. He actually doesn't have my address. He has my old address that was listed in the phone book. He doesn't know where I am now, but so I don't care. But anyway, yeah, the guy's a real loser. And I seem to strike a chord. If I upload more than one video a day, he gets mad. So for him, I'm going to upload 3, maybe more today. Okay, we'll lift this clip off here. Gotta make sure that the heads aren't pointing anywhere where they might get damaged. And we'll just lift the drum out. I'm just going to lift this little spring out of the way. Might be better if I just actually remove it. Let's just remove that little spring. I just don't want it to spring back and risk killing a head. I don't normally like to take this out just because these little plastic guide pieces here are part of the alignment, but and the head just pops out just like that. And this one is not seized. Oh, I don't like that sound. Listen to this. I don't like that sound. Maybe it's okay. So here's the 1000 again, with the drum that's totally seized up, tighter than a drum, pun intended. We'll prep it, remove the bottom screws and the circuit board screws, and pull the drum and replace it, and see whether the drum from the 900 will work in this one. It should. It should work. I don't know if the Beta 1 performance will be quite the same because I don't know if the head gap on these ones, on the 900 head is exactly the same, but I think it probably is. I think the head gap is probably the same. It probably used the same gap as the Beta 2. See, it doesn't take long to change the heads on these things. The whole drum comes out real easy. If you're just doing a swap, just 3 screws. There's the seized drum. Gotta get the holes to line up. And then just drop in just like that. I'll get one of the screws in first. I don't think it was storage either that caused the other drum to fail, because both of these machines have been stored in exactly the same place. In fact, this one was underneath the other one. They're both in the same pile, and this one was underneath the other one. So I don't think it's the storage that caused the drum to fail like that. I think it's just bad materials over time deteriorated. And it could very well happen to this one. I could run this one for a bit and then find that it does exactly the same thing. So who knows? These machines are pretty ancient and have all lasted long past where they were ever designed to last. I mean, this machine's got to be, what, 30 years old? At least 30 years old. At least. 86, I think. Yeah, 86. I think that's when these were around. So we're talking, 34, 35 years is how old these beasts are. So if they even work. We'll find out pretty quick whether we're going to have a success or whether we're going to end in disappointment. Don't even need to put the bottom on this thing for testing. It's either going to work or it's not. Got to put this back on. This is just the tape stabilizer. This goes on top here, and like that. Couple screws. That just pushes the tape into position as it's threading it. There's a couple little springs on it that hold the tape down as it's threading up. So I'll have the connector just sitting here because it's not going to be needed for anything. Unless I find a drum for one of these. Make sure I got power. Turn on my monitor. Uh-oh. That didn't load right. Maybe we'll make sure the tape. That's better. Shall we find out together? Tracking. That interference is the plasma. Guaranteed, that interference. If I get my hand near the head drum, that's the plasma causing that. That's the old, my old Sony instructor when I worked for Sony, putting on a course. Oh, what's that noise? Probably the bearing gonna fail on this thing. But yeah, that's like if I take my hand and move it in, let's put it on a non-plasma TV and see how it looks. My tracking's a bit off, but that's to be expected because I just changed the head. Thing is, we have playback. We just try a different tape. Looks pretty good to me. The neat thing about these machines, frames. Where's my slow tracking? but it works. Skip forward. This is the original tape of the Las Vegas stuff that I did. That's up on my YouTube channel. This is the original tape, I think. Or is it edited? I don't know if this is edited or not. This might be the original tape. No, this might be edited actually. I might have edited it on. Let's see if there's music on here. No, this is the original tape. Yeah, that's out of the camera. Because I would have dubbed music and stuff in there. There's no hi-fi on this. So let me just see if the beta hi-fi or beta, the beta super beta is on or off. Because this tape was recorded in super beta. Yeah, it is. And there's super beta off, super beta on. There we go. So my SLHF1000 lives, and maybe we'll drag out it. I got a beta 1 tape somewhere here. Let me see if I can drag out my beta 1 tape, and we'll play that back. And I should go grab my alignment tape. I've got a Sony factory alignment tape here. Let me go grab my alignment tape. We'll do the tape path on this thing. I'm going to leave this drum in here, obviously, because now I have a functional SLHF1000, and the 900 that it came out of, the power supply, had the chip missing because I robbed it. Or no, I didn't rob it. I robbed the chip out of another dead one to fix this one. But the SL900 that I took the drum out of, the chip is bad on it. But here we go. We have an SLHF1000. I could take this one with my other 1000 and edit analog using the controller built into this one and use this as the playback machine. I don't need flying erase heads for playback. I only need them for recording. I could use this if I wanted to edit, if I wanted to old school edit something, I could use this machine as the playback machine and use my other machine as the record machine. Neat, huh? Let me go dig up my alignment tape, my factory Sony alignment tape, and we'll put this thing on the scope and see how good we can make it look. But I'm pretty happy right now. It looks like it's playing that tape pretty flawlessly. This other tape was recorded in beta 3. So this was recorded in beta 3, that training tape. But playing a beta 2 tape just fine. This is an alignment tape. And how do I know it's an alignment tape? Besides the fact that I wrote alignment tape on it. Because this is a Sony factory alignment tape. Even got a serial number on it. I had a couple of them. This was marked good, best. Because I had a couple of them. I had one that was quite badly worn. And this one here's got beta 2 and beta 3, I guess, on it. It's even got the calibration values on it, you see. And anyway, I bought this tape back when I was in the business. Actually, I probably stole it from Sony. Anyway, this is one of their factory alignment tapes. So let's see how this thing will line up. We'll do the tracking adjustment, which is number 4 on here. And basically, what it does, it puts RF just on one head, and the other one has no head. So it makes seeing the pattern on the scope very, very simple. So we'll eject that tape. We'll load the alignment tape and clip the scope on to the appropriate test points over here, which, if I remember right, it's number 3 and 5. I forget. It's so long since I've done one of these things. We'll figure it out pretty quick once I start to play the tape, which test points we need to use. So it's 3 and 5 that we go on, and my alignment is not very good on this. We have some tweaking to do. Let me show you the scope, but we're going to go to the alignment portion of the tape anyway. We're on the color bars right now. That's followed by the monoscope and then the RF sweep, and then finally the tracking. So let's go to the tracking portion and I'll show you what it looks like. But here's what the main looks like. So that's RF from both heads, as I spin the tracking control. You can see we're off a little bit here, but we're going to go to the actual alignment portion, and I'm trying to remember how long each one for. I think each one's for 4 minutes. Let's just see here. Or is it 5? Yeah, 4 minutes. Okay, so that goes to 8. So I got to go up to about the 12-minute mark. Each recording was for 4 minutes long. So roll my counter up to 12 minutes. I should have my tracking sweep. Okay, so this should be the tracking, which it is. That's the tracking. I'm going to adjust the tape guides and the position of the audio control head, because the new drum might not be in exactly the same position as the old one. So we adjust the tape guides to try and give us the best waveform. To make this flat. What we're adjusting on the Beta is the entry guide, and the exit guide is right over here, right there. Those are the two guides that need to be adjusted more than anything. And then of course we can adjust the position of the audio control head by loosening off these screws here and sliding it back and forth slightly to center everything. Back to my color bars, and we'll take a look at how that looks, and then center the tracking control. Okay, we're just going to loosen off the retaining screws so that we can slide the head back and forth and get the best RF, which I just did right in the middle of the envelope. I just moved it slightly, and now it's right in the middle of the tracking control, and it's perfect. Take a look at the waveform. Okay, my picture is perfect. If we look at the waveform is also almost perfect. If I roll my tracking control, you'll see it goes down and it goes up. Okay, I'm almost there. I'm pretty darn close to being perfect. I'll tighten down the screws that hold the head in place first. There. That's looking pretty darn good to me. Go ahead to the monoscope pattern. The monoscope pattern will have the head switch point in the picture, and here it is. This is for doing what's called dihedral adjustment. So what the monoscope has done, this is the head switch point. They've actually put it right in the middle of the frame. And the dihedral on this is not too bad. If the dihedral is out, it will split and it will go out like this, or cross the other way. I can't do dihedral adjustment as I don't have the dihedral screws. But what dihedral was done for was when you change the head, that's what this access point is for. Good shot. Good shot. Okay, right down through here you can actually see the little screw there. There's one there and there's one there. You see there's a little place to put. There's nothing in there now, but those are threaded ports in, like holes with threads in the head. And you can see the actual head chip. You can see the head chip in the base there, right? And same for the other one on the other side. There it is there. And what dihedral adjustments did was you had these wedge-shaped metal screws that would thread down. They were magnetic, so you could use a magnetic screwdriver, and you would put them down through here, and you would screw them down to the point where they were just touching the head, and then you would turn them maybe a quarter of a turn, and then you would check that pattern again. And if the split was spreading out this way, then you would take the screw out at one side and you'd go back to the other side and you'd shift the head. And what you were doing was you were physically shifting the head back and forth in its mount. It's mounted on the disc, but it's held in place with a screw, but you're actually shifting the head ever so slightly between one direction and the other so that you could get the alignment absolutely perfect. It's something that was ever only required when you change the head disc, which we didn't do on this. We changed the entire drum, so it won't need to be done. I'm not going to do it. I can't, because I don't have the dihedral screws. I did have them, I just don't know where the hell they are. I had them in a pill container somewhere. I'm pretty sure I snagged them when I left the shop, because I snagged them from Sony when I left Sony. But here's a prime example of what you are achieving when you do dihedral. Now, it was never done on VHS. They were, because the VHS drum, you bought the drum and the heads were already set up at the factory. They did dihedral the same way at the factory through these holes here, but these are not threaded on VHS. On the Beta drum, these had threads in them, and you could put these little screws down, and what you were basically doing was you were physically shifting the head one way or the other. Speaking of VHS versus Beta, there's the head drum size difference for those of you interested. Okay, so you can see the surface area of the Beta head is much bigger. There's a much longer track that is drawn on the tape with the helical scan because the head drum is bigger, and that is why Beta had a better picture than VHS, because Beta had a bigger drum. There, I've said it, Beta was better. And we all knew that Beta was always better than VHS. Okay, I've done my rough alignment on this as close as I'm going to do it, because I'm happy. I'm sure someone's going to nitpick and say that I could do it better, but it's close enough for me. I'm going to try some other tapes. We'll try playing a few other tapes on it. We'll make a recording in Beta 1. I got to go find a tape I can record on. I know I've got some here. I got some recordings in Beta 1 too. But we'll make a recording in Beta 1 and we'll see how good it looks. And we'll put the thing back together, and maybe I'll be able to play it on the maybe I'll be able to play it on the plasma. Plasma causes so much interference to the head amplifiers. See how this Sony training seminar tape looks now that wouldn't play before, that was recorded in Beta 3. Now that I've tweaked my alignment, will it play any better? Of course it will. Plays fine. I haven't even adjusted the tracking there. Let's try the tracking control. There we go, looking good. Omar, you never looked better. I think Omar's probably dead now. He was pretty old at the time when this was done, and this was done in 1985 was when this recording was made. So he was getting up there in the years then. 35 years ago? Okay. If he's still alive, he's probably 85 or 90 years old, I'm going to think. But don't know. I left Sony, and he was there as the instructor for a while, and then he left Sony, so don't know whatever happened to Omar Bourrier. But if he's around and he's watching, hi Omar, you were a great teacher. Okay, this thing, I'm going to put the bottom cover on it so I can start buttoning this thing up. Then we're going to play around with it and do some recordings in the Beta 1 mode. You see, I love it. I love that frame counter on these machines. That was what made the SLHF1000. Frame by frame counter. Let's see how our freeze frame is now. Adjust my slow tracking. And there's an adjustment for that jitter, if I can remember where the heck it is. There is an adjustment for that, for the vertical jitter. I think it's on the back here. Somewhere there's an adjustment for that. Oh, still adjust. There it is. It's on the top. So I can play slow-mo. Love it. Great old machines. Let's try some Beta 1 stuff after I get the bottom cover on. Here's a Beta tape. This is probably one of the last Beta tapes that was ever made. A friend of mine gave me these. He gave me a couple of them that he had brand new. I've still got some in the wrapper. In fact, I unwrapped this one and recorded some stuff off YouTube on the old SLO340, the Portapack. Beta 1 speed, standard beta, not super high band. Let's see how this plays, this tape. And then we'll record some of my own content, because if I show this, I'm going to get bashed for copyright, even though it was stuff that I recorded off of YouTube, and it's stuff that is free, right? It was there was some stuff from Lounge V that decided after the fact that they were going to make their content available for free, but you could use it in any way you wanted for free. You could put it in your doctor's office, your dental office, you could run it in your store, you could use it for demoing TVs, but if you uploaded it to social media, they wanted a license fee for it. So I won't play this, I will play my own content. I'll do a recording on this, and we'll see how this works from recording my own content, and we'll play that back. So anyway, we'll see how this plays, this Beta 1 tape. You'll get a kick at how quick this tape moves when it's playing back. It really moves pretty quick. There it goes. And tracking control. Looks great. Yeah, it looks great. I'll put it up for a few seconds, but I can't. Actually, I probably shouldn't even play it for a few seconds, but it does look good. There. That's about all I dare show from that one, because you know, it will cause me grief. It's funny because if I turn on the Super Beta switch on this, and I have it in super high band, where is it? Super high band off and on. Oh yeah, it really won't play. Watch what happens if I switch the Beta high band, Super Beta switch on and off. The picture just won't play. It'll get all washed out, but we'll take a quick look at that. Okay, turn on the switch. You see the difference? So I'm going to make a recording of my own stuff. So this is a recording that I made. So we can watch this stuff all day if I want. We'll make a recording on this tape in Beta 1 super high band, and we'll take a look and see how this plays back. And I'll put the metal cover on this and put it on the plasma and see how it looks on that. So let's record this for a bit. So while this recording continues, we'll identify the major components of the Beta 711B chassis, which is what this one here is. So we've got two retractable tape guides, which the tape is pulled out and wrapped around this way. These support the tape. And we've got the shuttle block here. Shuttle block has an adjustable guide, which normally doesn't have to be adjusted that often. Your tape entrance guide here, this is the erase head. This is the tape entrance guide that adjusts the leading edge of the envelope. My camera is moving on its own. And the other adjustments down here, which is the exit guide down here. Video head drum, of course, is this unit. The linear audio is recorded by the audio and control head down here. And we have the capstan and the pinch roller, and the this is the sub loading arm assembly. On these ones there's two loading arms. There's the main loading gear, which spins this way when it's loading and pulls the tape out around here, and then there's the sub, which is the half loading arm, which just brings the tape out on this side over to here. Not my favorite chassis. I like the 710 chassis much better, which was the style that the SL5000 series used. I think it was a much more reliable and simpler, and very much more like the U-matic systems. That was my favorite Betamax chassis, and it actually pulled the tape out this way and wrapped it this way around, and so the race head was over on this side, whereas it pulled it out this way, so the race head was over here and the audio head was over there. It also had an arm. Instead of having a separate guide assembly, it's had an arm that, as the main loading arm pulled the tape this way, another arm would pull out that way, that would pull the tape up against the erase head and lock it in place. I think a simpler design, but it took up a lot more real estate. So with these ones with the guides that actually lie flat and go under the deck, this allowed the production of a more compact chassis. And this has a fixed head drum with just a slot, as we can see from the broken head here. Here's the broken head. This one has a slot that the heads just protrude through. The other one actually had a separate ring in the middle. So you had a lower drum, a centerpiece with the head in it, and an upper drum. And the design of that one made it very difficult to change the head. You had to do eccentricity adjustments as well as the dihedral adjustments. And the eccentricity adjustment required a jig, which you had to attach to the unit. It had a micrometer and a little probe that would sit up against the head drum, and you would turn it and you'd watch this little micrometer and you'd adjust it. You'd make minute adjustments so that the gauge didn't move. In fact, the gig that I did for 20 years, the shop that I worked at, when the guy hired me, I had left Sony, and Sony had recommended me to go work for the shop, and he had a I think it was an SL, might have been an 8600 or an 8400 or 56, maybe it was SL56 or 5800, 56 or 58, one of the brown ones, the top loader, Beta 2, Beta 3 machines with the piano keys, but they were solenoid controlled, not the mechanical ones. And he had one of these units sitting in his shop, and he tried to change the head and he could not get it right. So my test to work at the shop was, he hands me this Beta machine that he couldn't get going, and he said, "Can you make this thing work? Can you do an alignment on this thing?" And I said, "Sure." I said, "Give me your jig." "Oh no, we've already done that." I said, "Give me your jig." I said, and I said, "Give me a couple minutes." So phone rang, and the boss goes out and he takes a phone call, and he comes back and it's all done. He goes, "What did you do?" I said, "I fixed it." He goes, "Well, how did you do it?" I said, "I did it the right way." I said, "I used the right procedure for it. It's fixed, it's perfect." Puts his test tape in. Played perfect. Everything played perfect. "Okay, you're hired." Anyway, let's play this one back. I'll put the top on it. We'll see how this plays back on the plasma. I know it'll play back perfect on the CRT, but this beast of a plasma loves to throw lots of... Actually, I can play it on my LCD if the plasma doesn't look nice. Plasmas don't play nice with analog tapes, although with the metal cover on this it should be shielded, so it shouldn't be a problem. We'll play this back and see how this one looks recording in the Beta 1 speed. I'm going to do recording in all 3 speeds, so we're recording in Beta 1 right now. I'll switch this down to Beta 2 and Beta 3, and we'll test all the 3 speeds. So I'm going to switch it down to Beta 2, and we'll record for a bit on Beta 2, and then we'll switch it down to Beta 3, and we'll look at the playback of the 3 speeds. This is just being recorded from my modulator too, which is probably not the best source. But what I'm going to do is that we're going to, once we've done this recording, just off the media player playing over channel 5, you see I'm getting some noise. That's just on the cable itself. We'll try the Beta 3 speed now. Beta 3. I think that's Beta 3. There we go. There's Beta 3. What I'll do is we'll make a recording from a camera. We'll record some color bars and stuff, and we'll see how the recording from my color bar generator in my camera records, because color bars are really the acid test for VCRs. So there's the beta 3 speed. We'll just rewind this now a bit. Beta 3, beta 2, and beta 1. Here's playback. So there's beta 1 playback. Looks pretty good to me. Complete with our time code. Single frame advance. It'll click over to beta 2 momentarily. No flying erase head, so there will be a bit of a disruption as it flips over to beta 2. There's beta 2. As you can tell, it says beta 2 over in the bottom left corner. And again. And that should flip over to beta 3. And then we'll dig up the color bar generator and record some color bars. And there's beta 3. And even beta 3 looks fine. Not as good as beta 1, of course, but still better than VHS. Let's hook up the color bar generator and then we can finish this video up. Okay, here's some color bars I'm going to record in beta 1, beta 2, and beta 3, and I'm going to put some music on the hi-fi track from my MP3 player. So here we go. Recording in beta 1. Cue the music. I'll let this record for a bit and then we'll change the speed, just so we can see the difference in the picture quality, especially in the signal to noise ratio. So what you're looking at now is the color bars right off of a Sony camera. This is a DXC 1800. I'll show you guys the remote control for this. I've got the remote for this thing. It's got the jog shuttle and everything on the remote. Basically everything that's on the front panel is on the remote of these wonderful machines. So we'll switch this down to beta 2. Now we just switch it to beta 2. Let it play, let it record for another couple minutes here, or a minute or so. I'll switch it at the 30-second point. There we go. Now we're on beta 3. And I'll let it just record to the 55-minute mark, and we'll rewind the tape and take a look at it. Here we go. Rewind our color bars. And this will be about where they start. Remember, no flying erase head, so it takes a second for it to kick in. There we go, there's playback. Nice little few dropouts on the tape. We'll just roll the tracking control off center. There's back to center. There's the other direction, so we're smack dab in the middle. If I hit pause, pause is pretty good. Let that play until we get into the beta 2 mode. As you can see, the colors are actually pretty good. There's not a lot of noise there. You see a bit of a transition between the green and the magenta, but that's normal. But the colors themselves are very good. And you can see some of the movement, the dot crawl there. Again, this is because the tape is it's converting the color from the 3.58 or 3.579 545 color sub-carry. Now we're down to beta 2. It's converting it down to 688 kilohertz for the color under, and then it's converting it back up. But look at beta 2. It's beautiful. Beautiful picture. Nice dropouts. Okay, it's old tape. I don't know how old this tape is, but a friend gave it to me, but the tape is probably 20 years old. And beta 3. Amazing, huh? Love these old beta machines. And no, this one's not for sale. So now I have 2 working SLHF1000s. One with flying erase heads and one without. Anyway, that is going to pretty much end this video. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now. And then whatever remains on this tape, whatever was on this tape before, we'll show through again once it figures out what speed it's in. There, that was a recording made. That was a recording made on that SLO340. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, SLO340. We'll turn off the beta hi-fi was on. That's why it's disturbing. See the picture? Or I mean, super beta was on. Turn super beta off, and the picture's fine. See? On. It's all washed out, off because of the bandwidth. Because the old beta 1 was not a high band machine, whereas this one is. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching. Catch ya later. Bye.